Hello, today I will be persuading you that Android is better than iPhone. My name is Freddie Morales and I will be giving you some facts on Android phones and iPhones. I have a cell phone in my pocket. My wife has a cell phone. My parents have cell phones. I only imagine that everybody in the class has cell phones. It is a fact of life that people have cell phones nowadays. Unless you don't like cell phones, but everybody does. It keeps you in touch through social media. It keeps you in touch with coworkers through text. It keeps you in touch through family members, through voice calls. It could have never happened unless Steve Jobs introduced the iPhone. The iPhone revolutionized the cell phone industry, but it was expensive and it had flaws. Soon Android was Apple's largest competitor. Now I will be giving you a brief history on Android. Android was established in 2004 by 5 individuals who wanted to make smarter phones, more self-aware phones, and phones that could learn your everyday choices. A year down the road, Google gained interest on Android and bought out the company, but didn't buy it out. It actually bought it and only helped it because a year down the road, they opened up a developers conference, and then apps were being made. Phones were being designed. Software was being written. So many developers showed up to this thing. And in 2007, an Android phone came out. A smartphone came out to compete with iPhone, Apple's smartphone. Now that I gave you a brief history on Android and its smartphone history, I will be sharing with you iPhone's history. It was announced in June of 2007 that Apple was coming out with an iPhone, a smart iPhone, a phone that could do everything you can imagine. In September of 2007, the iPhone was released through AT&T, one carrier only. This made it nearly impossible for anybody that was on a different cell phone provider like Verizon, T-Mobile, Sprint to obtain their hands on the iPhone, which made it more appealing. It was priced at $600. It had a few bugs, and AT&T didn't have the best of service. Without a doubt, it was still one of the best phones. Instead of being it was touchscreen, and instead of being press sensitive, it was heat sensitive. It had music, it had games, it had a camera, you name it, it had it. It was an amazing phone. Now that I've shared a history of iPhone, now I will be explaining the differences in flagships between Android and iPhone. iPhone is nearly coming out with its iPhone 6, which will have a 4.7 display. It will have iOS 8. iOS stands for iPhone operating system. It's going to have a better camera, a supposed 16 megapixel camera. But as of today, all you have is the iPhone 5S, which has a 8 megapixel camera, 16 through 64 gigabytes of internal storage, which cannot be modified to increase. It has an A7 64-bit processor, which creates no lag. It has a battery life of 9 hours to 16 hours, depending on your usage. But that camera, that 8 megapixel camera, just drains the phone's level of quality to me. The Galaxy S5, which is produced by Samsung, is amazing. This phone has a 16 megapixel camera. It comes through 16 to 32 gigabytes of internal storage and up to 128 of internal storage expanding capabilities. You have a 12 to 19, 21 hour battery life. It has a huge, enormous 5.1 display. Google offers more free apps, and the Samsung Galaxy S5 has a 3 gigabyte RAM of memory. This is amazing compared to the iPhone. It has the fastest operating system right now. It has KitKat 4.4. KitKat is the name of Android's operating system, which is usually named after a treat. Now that you've heard the differences between Android and iPhone, let me emphasize on why Android is better than iPhone. Android strives themselves in being affordable, open for developers, never closed, as opposed to Apple is closed, expensive, and they do not. The fact that they're so expensive, it becomes out of reach for anybody. Ultimately, the choice is yours. You get to choose what you want. But I hope that these specs that I brought up from the Galaxy S5 motivate you to get a different type of phone than an iPhone the next time you're at your local cell phone store. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.